It's Monday, April 19th, 2021. A lot happening today. Let's get right into it. Before I start though, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video with everybody, blast it all over your social media. Make sure that you are subscribed, and if you are subscribed, make sure you hit that bell notification so that you are alerted with the newest video. So please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share. But let's get right into what's going on today. Markets across the board down. Dow Jones was down around 122 points, so nothing too severe. But what is standing out today, with me at least, is what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin down 15% from last week. And so we're seeing that volatility again, and we're hearing more and more about regulations coming to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. China banning Bitcoin. I believe Turkey has banned Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And we're seeing and hearing more and more negative news regarding cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin. If the US government begins to regulate cryptocurrencies, what does this mean for Bitcoin? It's going to have a very, very hard time getting to $100,000. It's going to have a tough time getting to $250,000. And it's going to have a very tough time getting to $1 million, as many people have predicted it would do. And now it's struggling to get back to 60,000. So what does this mean? Is Bitcoin going to continue to move forward even with the negative news coming from Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, and the central banks, China, Turkey? And as we continue to hear more negative sentiment towards cryptocurrencies from central banks, from the US government, what is the future of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Please comment down below. Many of you probably may think it's going to continue to go forward. Many of you may think it's going down. So is it going to make it to $100,000, or is it going to fall below $50,000? Where do we go from here? Let me know your thoughts. Article today, U.S. government debt even worse than advertised. And all I can say when I read articles like this is bet against the debt, because the dollar is going to be toast at some point. And I still hold dollars, and I'm still stacking some dollars because you need them right now. But I believe that the US dollar is on borrowed time. And the more debt we acquire, the larger these deficits get. And now the threat with what's happening in the crypto market, I'm continuing to buy stuff like this. I just got this order in last week from SD Bullion. I got a tube of silver fill harmonics here. And I truly believe silver is absolutely on sale. And again, SD Bullion is where I buy my silver. This is not an advertisement, but I share quite often where I buy my silver because people are always inquiring, asking me on social media, what's a good place to buy silver and gold from, precious metals. SD Bullion, I have a link down below. Check it out. They've been fantastic. Look, I don't care where you buy it from. I know the trolls out there are going to get triggered and excited because I said SD Bullion. I like SD Bullion. I've been dealing with them for 2 years, never had an issue. Great company, great prices. They get me my metals promptly. And I know when I make an order, it's going to be delivered. No problems. But look, I don't care where anybody out there buys their gold or their silver, their precious metals. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you buy them or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm sharing with you what I'm doing, and I'm sharing with you where I buy my metals from, and the importance and my belief system in precious metals, especially when we're looking at this kind of debt, when we're looking at these deficits, and we're looking at this kind of uncertainty. To me, there's never been a more important time in human history to own something real like precious metals, which I believe are on sale. People are ignoring precious metals. They're on sale, but yet they're going to buy Tesla and Microsoft and Apple and all these overinflated stocks when what's on sale is over here. It's precious metals, something real you can hold in your hands. Through the first 6 months of fiscal 2021, the US government ran a $1.7 trillion budget deficit. And you believe you should just be holding paper, that you shouldn't be holding something real like gold and silver? Come on. Last month, the national debt eclipsed $28 trillion. What do you think this means for the US dollar? What do you think this means for your purchasing power? This stuff is monopoly money. You need to be holding real money, the money that's been here for 5,000 years, gold and silver. When you include unfunded liabilities such as Social Security and Medicare, the actual U.S. debt stands close to $140 trillion. I've heard it even being higher than that. In order to pay off all of Uncle Sam's liabilities, every taxpayer in the United States would have to write a check for $796,000. Think about that. It's mind-boggling to think where we're at as a nation. We are completely bankrupt. The federal government has $5.95 trillion in assets and $129 trillion in liabilities. If the government was a private company, it would be bankrupt, period. Bankrupt. It wouldn't even exist. Would you exist with this kind of debt? Absolutely not. Uncle Sam's liabilities, let's go through them here for a minute. Medicare benefits, $55.12 trillion. Over $55 trillion in Medicare benefits. Social Security obligations, $41.2 trillion. Publicly held debt, $21.08 trillion. Military and civilian retirement obligations, $9.41 trillion. Other liabilities, $2.25 trillion. What does it take to count to a trillion? I think it takes 33,000 years or 36,000 years to count to 1 trillion. We are throwing trillions around like it's chump change. The liabilities, the debt is incredible. Last week, Jerome Powell acknowledged the federal budget is on an unsustainable trajectory. Unsustainable trajectory, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that. But he insists the current debt load is sustainable. We are going to pay nearly $1 trillion in just servicing our debt pretty soon. To service the U.S. debt, it's going to cost us $1 trillion a year. Is this sustainable? Mr. Powell, is this sustainable? One thing is for sure, the U.S. government will not stop spending money. They always have an excuse to borrow more money. Something's going to come up very, very soon that they're going to have to create money out of thin air. More digits on a screen, and that means more borrowing, that means more debt creation, that means more funny money, that means more devaluation of your currency, ladies and gentlemen, because they're going to have to print more money to keep the whole scheme going. Jerome Powell is basically saying they will continue to kick the can down the road. The question is, what happens when we run out of road? And ladies and gentlemen, that road is getting shorter and shorter every day. And these are questions that we all have to be asking ourselves. And again, this is why I buy stuff like this. You know, this tube of harmonics wasn't cheap. And let me tell you, I could do something a lot more fun than buying a tube of Philharmonics. There's better things in life, or let me take that back. More fun things in life you could be doing than buying silver or buying gold. But you have to make a sacrifice at some point in your life to protect your wealth. And this stuff just goes to another location, into another safe where I don't think about it. I don't think about it. Look, this thing doesn't taste good. It really, it's not entertaining. It just really gives me no sense of fun, right? It's beautiful. It feels good in the hand. It's real money. There's no doubt about it. When you look at the beauty, especially of a Philharmonic here, it's gorgeous. And when you hold it and you compare this to paper money, there's no comparison. This is God's money right here. But there are things out there that would be a lot more fun to spend money on. But I am at a point in my life where I see what is coming and I know what is coming. And I have to sacrifice fun things in order to buy stuff like this. And maybe you can't buy a tube of Philharmonics or a tube of silver rounds, but maybe if you cut out that latte or two, maybe you can buy an ounce this week. Maybe if you cut out that weekend trip, you can buy a few ounces of silver. Maybe if you cut going out to dinner a few times a month, you can buy a few silver ounces. But see, people don't want to sacrifice the lifestyle. They don't want to sacrifice the luxuries and the fun things and the parties and going out to dinner and all that. And if you're not willing to make the sacrifices, you're never going to be able to protect your wealth, and you're not going to have real wealth. People don't want to give up those things in order to buy something real. You know, you go out to dinner, you go out to the bars, have some drinks, you go out to a ball game, you go out to the movies. That's all a distant memory by tomorrow. This stuff right here, you'll have forever. You'll have it for a time when you're going to need it. And there's never been a more important time to be acquiring assets like gold and silver while they're on sale, because when the whole bottom falls out, don't think that tomorrow you're going to pick up the phone and call SD Bullion and get a tube of silver rounds, eagles, maple leafs, or you know, silver 1 ounce coins. It's not going to happen. It's all going to be gone. And you know, I talk to people on a daily basis, and people are beginning to realize how hard it is to get certain things, whether it's security, whether it's silver, whether it's gold. It's getting more and more difficult. What do you think is going to happen when things really get bad? What do you think is going to happen when these markets crash? What do you think is going to happen when the housing market crashes? The whole environment's going to look a lot different, ladies and gentlemen, and this stuff is going to be unobtainable. So get it now, because right now you can still get it. It might take a little longer to get, but you can still get it. And imagine what the prices are going to be when this economy busts loose. I was reading an article last night on The Hedge. It's titled, "The Next Economic Crisis. Will Your Wealth Survive?" And it's a question that we all need to be asking ourselves. For millions of people already, their wealth has been wiped out. They have no wealth. What they have is a massive amount of debt that they're never going to recover from, debt that they're never going to get out from. In fact, millions are going deeper into debt, drowning in debt, and these are debt slaves. But if you still have some wealth, you need to be protecting it, and you need to be thinking critically outside of the box right now on how to protect it. Those counting on a stimulus check for survival will someday most likely find out it will not buy them diddly squat. The shelves will be empty, or the value of what they receive will simply not be enough. Just go into the grocery store and see the massive amount of inflation. Inflation isn't going up slowly now. It's beginning to surge. I mean, I'm seeing every week I go into the grocery store, I'm seeing different products going up from week to week. So we are seeing inflation beginning to run hot here, ladies and gentlemen, especially at the grocery store. And it's going to eat people's wealth up. People's wealth can vanish quickly. And we are seeing that happening right now with the cost of just living day to day. Currencies are just IOUs. They're paper promises. Cryptos, digital assets recorded somewhere far from sight as a digital entry on a computer. How safe is all this? That money you have in the Cayman Islands, you have no idea where that money really is today, because banks don't just sit on those deposits and keep all those deposits safe. They loan that money out, and you have no idea where that money has been loaned out to. You're invested in rental properties. What happens when your renters lose their jobs and they can't pay? What happens when your renters don't want to pay because they're in a rental moratorium and they believe, like, now I don't have to pay you because there's a rental moratorium going on. So even though I have the money, I'm not going to pay you. So what happens to the person who invested their money in rental properties and now they're not getting paid? Bitcoin and Bitcoin volatility. Overnight, the purchasing power plunged 15%. If you were using Bitcoin to buy a house, you would now have to come up with more Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has lost 15% of its purchasing power in the last week. So if I was in escrow on a house, I now have to come up with 15% more money than I did a week ago to pay for that same house. So that's huge volatility. So is your wealth safe in cryptos? Is it safe in rental properties? Is it safe in stocks, in bonds, dollar bills? How safe is all of this? Again, this is why I go back to stuff like this. And I'm not saying this is just the only thing to have, but to me, this is never going to be worth zero. And I feel much safer being in something tangible like gold, like silver, so much less liability. It's never been worth zero, has a 5,000-year history. The world knows that gold and silver is real money. It's never going away. And I'm holding it in locations that I can get to in a time of emergency. Will China launch a gold-backed cryptocurrency to toast the United States dollar? Not yet. They have too many dollars. They're holding too many dollars to do that. But I believe at some point in the future, they are going to have the world reserve currency. And that really hurts me to say that. China buys the most oil in the world. China has, I believe, the biggest economy in the world. They have the biggest banks in the world. They manufacture everything in the world. And arguably, they probably are holding more physical gold than anybody in the world. We are going to windmills. China is going to continue to buy oil, okay? As we are trying to get off oil, as we're going to depend on windmills, China is going to buy more and more oil. They're going to cut more deals with Saudi Arabia. And if China goes to a gold-backed currency, a gold-backed digital currency, and they're buying more oil than anyone in the world, what do you think Saudi Arabia is going to do? What do you think the world is going to do? The world is going to want a reserve currency backed by gold. And whoever's buying the most oil, whoever is manufacturing the most goods in the world, whoever has the most gold in the world, is probably at some point going to get the world reserve currency. I believe that Saudi Arabia would love to see the world reserve currency come out of China. It's backed by gold. They can trade with gold. Saudi Arabia can buy cheap goods from China. China can buy oil from Saudi Arabia. They can use their currencies. They can use gold. The world at that point is going to jump to China because their currency will be backed by gold. Their currency will have a backing. It won't just be a currency created out of thin air. It's going to be backed by gold. And so as China is manufacturing everything in the entire world, and America isn't manufacturing anything but debt, as we're just printing money out of thin air, as we have pretty much tried to control the entire world with our world reserve currency backed by nothing, as we have created massive war and unbalance throughout the world by using and weaponizing the world reserve currency, the US dollar, it will not take long for the world to just drop dollars and run to China and their new digital currency backed by gold. No doubt about it. They're going to be the superpower. They're the new empire. Again, manufacturing everything, having a majority of the world's gold, having the biggest banks, having the biggest military. No doubt, we can all see where this is going. And this really hurts me because I love this country and I do not want to see America fail or fall. But when this does happen, and it could be years down the road, nobody knows, but when it does happen, our standard of living is going to collapse as we know it. And people, as they're, going out to dinner and they're out, just trying to get back to life, as they're out watching baseball games and basketball games, cartoons, movies, reality TV, whatever they're doing, they have no idea what is happening behind the scenes. They have no idea their standard of living is going to get crushed. And their children and their grandchildren, the massive amount of debt that they're going to take on, their standard of living is going to collapse. And yet people just ignore the truth. They ignore reality. They ignore what is happening. And this is why I make these videos, so that you do not fail to see what is going on, that you don't fail to hear the warning, so that you are prepared. So when this wealth transfer takes place, not everybody is going to collapse. Not everybody is going to lose everything. Not everybody is going to be poor. There are going to be people who prosper at this time. There are going to be people who survive this and do very, very well. And the people holding the real money, the people who hold the assets, the people who aren't holding massive amounts of debt right now, these are going to be the people who survive and do quite well. Unfortunately, most people are not. Most people are going to be debt slaves. Most people are going to get wiped out. And the big hedge funds and the black rocks are going to come in and they're going to scoop up all these houses dirt cheap, while tens of millions of Americans are going to be wiped out and they're never going to come back. Their pensions will be wiped out, their 401ks, they're going to lose their houses, their credit will be destroyed. They're never coming back. And their standard of living is going to change, not for the better, but for the worse. The future for their children and their grandchildren does not look good because they are going to be holding so much debt. It's going to change, ladies and gentlemen. The new world is coming, and it gives me no pleasure to talk about that. It gives me no pleasure to share that with you, but you all know. You all know where this is going. This is why most of you are buying gold and silver. This is why most of you have food and water put away, security preparations. Most of you now have figured out pay down the debt, get rid of debt. Things are changing, and they're changing right now. So while people are out, watching reality TV and basketball games and baseball games, and they're watching their cartoons, their Netflix, I'm here to tell you the real world is changing. And there are people in other countries that know exactly what's going on, and they cannot wait to buy up your home. They can't wait to buy your land. They can't wait to come here and buy more farms and more pork farms and more cattle ranches. They can't wait to come here and buy what's on sale. And most people are oblivious to what is going on, and their ignorance and their laziness is going to cost them everything that they have. It's going to cost them their futures. It's going to cost them the future of their children's lives and economic prosperity. It's going to cost them. So don't be lazy. Don't be ignorant. Pay attention to what's going on. God bless all of you. Talk to all of you soon.